So you're wondering how to start writing your own book? I found a process that worked, and I moved from going to write a book to I've written several. And you get to learn that in this video. I'm kind of passionate about this one, how to start writing your own book, because for years I told everybody, and more importantly myself, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do it. And notice how every time that I say that, it's always true. I'm going to, right? In some unforeseen future time or space continuum somewhere. Do you see how vague and far off that is? That's the first thing we need to change. We switch our own mentality from I'm going to write a book over to I'm writing a book. Now, once you make that shift, what feels different to you? Do you notice that changes the energy? So it's no longer out there in the future ethereal world somewhere. Now it's present. I'm writing a book. Here's another way to shift that mindset. I am an author. Now notice if you have a little fight in your head because you haven't written a book yet, that it feels like, well, I'm lying. Really? What if you're telling the truth in advance? Because if you're an author at some point in the future, it's still you. You are an author. If you're going to write a book, what does that make you? So we switch it in our mind to say, I am an author. I am writing a book. Now that's going to create a little cognitive dissonance. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Cognitive dissonance is just when my experience doesn't match my belief. And if your belief is that you're not an author, and now you're saying that you are, that's a little dissonance. Your mind will work to bring that into sync, okay? And so what we're doing is setting up our mind to shift into author mode. I'm a writer mode. I am writing a book. See how that's all present tense and very affirming. So that's the first thing, folks. You shift. And I had my shift about 10 years ago when I had already been telling myself for 10 years prior to that I'm going to write a book. It shifted for me. I am an author. I went through several experiences that brought me there, and I don't have to share all of that with you to make the point. But that was the first key element. Now, what are you going to do next? Let's get practical. What I want to do in this video is share my own experience with you. Now, other authors may have done this in different ways. That's fine. And be open to their experience and their wisdom. Here's what happened to me. I was listening to a webinar where the point was made that you start by doing what this trainer called an author's book tour. Here's what the author's book tour is. You simply get your body out of the seat that it's in and head down to the bookstore. I'm not talking online Amazon.com. It's amazing. I love to buy books through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those fun online retailers. No, you go to the store. There are still bookstores in most communities. It may be a dying breed, but while we've still got them, take advantage of this. Head over to the bookstore. Now, what is the author's bookstore? You walk into the bookstore, the physical bookstore, and you look for your book. This is brilliant because it creates an image in your mind of what kind of a book you're going to write, where it would be in relation to the other books in that bookstore. So I walk in and I see the mechanics books and magazines over here, and I see design and fashion over here, and I see cookbooks back there somewhere, and books about art and books about science. None of those are mine. Okay, I'm not going to those sections to find my book. You might go to that section, but that's not my section. What am I looking for? Well, there it is. Psychology and self-help. That's where my book's going to be. I go over to that section of books and I start looking for, well, is it going to be in child development? Is it going to be in human ethology? Is it going to be what? So we narrow it down. Find the shelf where your book is most likely to be. On that shelf, where your genre is and where the similar books are that are kind of in that same family as yours, you're going to look around at some of the books there. And I even had some fun picturing, oh, my last name starts with J. Jenkins, that's going to be right here. My book would be right there on the shelf. Now I'm going to look at the other books around it. Pick 4 or 5 books off of the shelf. Really, actually do this. This is a powerful experience. Pick 4 or 5 that look similar to what you might write. And then go find one of those big overstuffed chairs in the back of the bookstore. Go sit down on one of those. And I took my phone with me so that I could take some pictures of these books. The covers, the title pages, the table of contents, because I want to see how they're organized and how they pull together ideas that are similar to what I want to present to the world. You're going to find 1 or 2 that speak to you more than the others. Find the one that seems the most similar to you as to what you want to create and buy it. It's called No More Regrets by Mark Muchnick. Mark, if you see this video, send me a message. I would love to chat with you. But Mark's book spoke to me in a way that's like, you know what? This is kind of like the book that I would create. So I bought it and I read it and I enjoyed it and I noticed how he structured and put together the book that I'm holding right here in my hands. I bought a physical copy because this makes it more real to me that maybe I can create something like this. Now, I'm not going to knock off Mark's book or plagiarize it in any way. This is simply kind of the roommate, if you will, to my book. It's right there on the shelf with my book. Do you see where I'm going with that? So I buy the book, I spend some time in it, I read it, I notice what's working for me and what's not and how I might apply that. So that's what the author's book tour is. Now, let's go to the next step. This is extremely important. Make an appointment with yourself. This is a recurring appointment. If you have an appointment with me, are you going to keep that appointment? Of course you will, because you got that kind of integrity, right? You make an appointment with your dentist, your doctor, your attorney, whatever. You're going to show up to your appointment. Make an appointment with yourself. And I don't mean tell yourself, well, I'm going to do it. No, you put it in your calendar. It's got a start time and an end time. You're going to protect that and not let other things interfere. This appointment is your writing appointment. For me, that writing appointment for almost 4 years straight was 5 o'clock Saturday morning. Now, I set a start time and an end time. I gave myself 2 hours every Saturday morning from 5 to 7. What am I doing during that appointment? I'm writing. What do authors do? They write. Start writing. Oh, big surprise. Dr. Paul does a video about how to start writing your own book. And he says, start writing? Oh, this is really high science, people. Connect with it. Start writing. Set an appointment with yourself. You keep the appointment. Now, let's say that your appointment comes up. Okay, 5 o'clock Saturday morning was mine. I sit down at my computer. What do I write? Well, I don't know. You're going to experience this, I promise. It's like, oh, what do I write? And you might be stuck. If you don't know what to write, write that. Write the words, I don't know what to write. Get your fingers moving on the keyboard. Now, you might not be a proficient keyboardist. That's fine. You don't have to do this on a word processor or on a keyboard. You can speak it. There are digital recorders. There are programs. There's software. There's apps where you can actually speak into a device and the device types it for you. So don't let that stop you. I don't care what your limitations are. You've got to get your thoughts from here, where they currently reside, to here, where we can manipulate them and edit them and move them around and start playing with and massaging them, because this writing a book thing is a very complicated process. Well, I said complicated. It's actually fairly simple. It's getting the ideas from here to here and then moving them around so that it looks like a book. That's what we need to do. So however you need to do that, whether it's through keyboard, recording, transcription, whatever, you pick your preferred way of doing this. I have a buddy who spoke his entire book. He spoke it. Were there errors? Yeah, but there's errors when I type too. So don't worry about that. Just get it out. Don't worry about organizing it. Now, at some point, you'll come to this point where, and I did this for about a year. I brain dumped, got it all out there. And then I realized, you know what? This isn't a book. It's Dr. Paul's brain dump. And I need to turn it into something that looks more like a book. At some point, you will reach the realization that you need other people. You need other people on your team. You need someone else's eyes on this. You need someone to look at it or work with it according to their skill sets or experience or expertise. I hired a brilliant man named Thomas Cantrell. Thomas, much love from Dr. Paul. Thomas helped take me through an editing process. He's a creative editor, so he takes the ideas and the concepts and he helps to get to the heart of what is it you're trying to say here, Doc? Because all of this is kind of a pile of brain dump. Yeah, I knew that. Thomas, in his skill set, was able to take me through an editing process where we took about half of what I had written and we put it over here on a shelf in the basement for later use. And this half is the part that I really want in this book. We worked it around for quite a while, got to a point where it's time to turn it into a book. Now, one other comment about this. As you consult with people, it feels risky. I called my dear friend Leslie Householder. She is the author of The Jackrabbit Factor, Portal to Genius. Go read those books. Do yourself a favor. Leslie told me, she says, Dr. Paul, when you get to this point, it's kind of like you've given birth to this little baby, you know, your book. And you want to send this baby out to the world, but you don't want the world to tell you your baby's ugly. And that's the risk. Because getting outside of your own eyes and your own head to let other people view it and possibly scrutinize it, that feels risky. And you have to do that at some point. So be ready for that. And we can consult if you want when you get to that point. At this stage of writing your book, you've got all of your ideas into some format that you can move it around and edit it. You've engaged people on your team. You've brought people in. You've got feedback. You're getting to the point where it's starting to form into an actual book that can go sit on the shelf at the bookstore with Mark's book. I found it very helpful at this point to start creating very physical images of what's going to happen with my book. Let me show you this one. This is my book, Pathological Positivity. Psych, it's actually somebody else's book of a different title. I printed out the mock-up for my cover and I taped it. It's even Latin on the back. This is before I had any of the copy written. But this gave me a little rush because this printed paper cover over someone else's book gave me something to hold that looked like my book. And I can hold that up next to Mark's book and I can say, look, they get to be roommates now. It's not even my content. But what this did is it started to work with my own mind to make this more possible. We moved from that to a draft version. When this one showed up from the publisher, I was so excited because this is my book. It says proof in it, so it's not the final copy and the paper's not even the same color that it eventually became. But I got to go through this and make further corrections and editings. And do you see that we're getting closer and closer until finally, boom, there it is. Pathological Positivity. There's a .com for that. You can buy this book. Isn't that cool? And it's a physical, tangible book. Now, I got to give you a warning because we've just talked about how to start writing your own book. Be careful. It's a little addicting. I wrote that book. It took me a couple of years to go through that process that I just shared with you. My second book, Portable Positivity, came out in about a year after that. Came out much faster. It's a little mini book. My third book, The Love Choice, came out the following year. I wrote 3 books in 3 years. And then I kind of got distracted with YouTube and stuff. But I got a couple of more books in my computer right now at different stages of development. There's more to share than you can possibly share in one book. Start writing this first one, because that will open up the possibilities to so many more things to come. I hope you found that helpful. It's a totally doable thing, and if you feel inclined to do it, jump in. You can do this, and share this video with someone else that you think might benefit.